This is full production. Look, you don't care. What up, YouTube? Welcome back. Relationish. We've been gone for a minute, doing the parent thing, doing the new house thing, doing the getting back into the flow thing.
Yes.
But we're here with another video. Before we go any further, please make sure you like, subscribe, hit the bell, comment, leave some comments for the YouTube algorithm. Smash that thumbs up. All that stuff will help us out tremendously.
And we will respond.
We do like to respond to something y'all comments.
Some
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but some of them. Yes.
So this video, as it says in the title, is really going to be about our experience right before we gave birth. We're going to give you guys some of the things they don't tell you to be ready for. I'm trying to give you some game on how to handle that. I'm going to let Caitlin take it away because this is really her thing.
Yes, it is my thing because obviously I'm the one that gave birth, literally. But I think that it's important for Kadeem to be in this video. I just want to mention this because you don't see, now we're seeing a lot more fathers be involved. Maybe they were, I'm sure, but just seeing it. So I wanted to make sure that everyone got to see Kadeem, and I wanted everyone to hear him talk about his experience actually helping me give birth, seeing everything happen, the before, the during, the after, and just give his take on it. So
our experience was a little different too, though, because we were going through the pandemic. Right? This video is going to help a lot of you guys out that are having those pandemic babies.
Yes.
We got pregnant before the pandemic and had to go through the whole experience while everybody was, we were in shutdown.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? While buying a house all at the same time. So
I
think to start the story, right as things started to not open up, but you could kind of get back out the house, you got to think, we're going to do a video about this too, like the birthing process, like being on shutdown. But no, we got to talk about it.
Yeah, this is before, like the day before, like
being locked in the house
birth
with a pregnant woman.
Oh yes, that's a completely different video.
With the whole world being shut down, we're gonna talk about that because
with a woman, excuse me, sir.
Goodness, man, y'all. Hey, anyway, but as the world began to kind of open up and things, I think
they teased us with a little opening.
Yeah, we got to go to Top Golf, so it's something we like to do together, and we're in Top Golf and. I'm a competitor, so we're really competing out there.
He was beating my...
And she was like, the day after, I think she was having pains.
It was the night.
Yeah, that night, like once we got back to the apartment, she was really like in more pain than she probably had been. The pregnancy wasn't super easy on her, but this night it was different. And we were closing on our house in probably, I want to say 2 or 3 days from there.
No, the next day, babe.
We went to Top Golf and then the next day?
So that day we went to Top Golf. He was like, hey, we can go. It's open finally. We have been checking the website and making sure. And so then Kadeem was like, okay, let's go. So we go to Top Golf. And then during, I don't know, the time before when we played, I feel like I was kind of getting somewhere. Like I could have beat you maybe.
No.
Maybe. Anyway, he, I felt like I was doing good. And then all of a sudden I started having like pains in my stomach. But they weren't like pains. It was more like severe discomfort and then like a little bit of pain. It was really hard for me to explain and describe. The entire pregnancy, everything I was feeling was really difficult for me to explain and describe. I wasn't able to do it until after I gave birth to like really look back and be like, okay, that's what was going on with me. But I had a lot of discomfort, and so I continued to play. But I remember telling him at Top Golf, like, I don't feel good, like something doesn't feel right. And he's like, okay, well, this game's almost over, we're gonna go home, we'll relax. And then, the next day, September 11th, we closed on the house. We had a closing appointment at like 9 a.m. So when we got home, I remember like turning on the shower. Kadeem was watching a game, and then he came in the room, or he turned on the TV. He came in the room, and I was on my knees on the floor, like downward dog position, in pain, like something was seriously going on. And so I was down, and he was just like, are you okay? He like came down, he was rubbing my back. He was like, hey, let's take a warm shower. I'll massage your back after if you need to. And then, he got my pregnancy pillow all comfy for me and everything. And I was like, I don't know if I'm gonna make it through the night. Like, I don't know if I should, go to the hospital. But we had a doctor's appointment, a follow-up at like 2 o'clock.
Yeah, the next day.
Yeah, so like we both decided, okay, let's close on the house first. Let's get that out of the way. And then you already have a follow-up at 2, so we'll just go to that and then, you know, just let them know like if I can make it that long.
Yeah.
So we made it through. And then once we closed, it was really like Kadeem, because I mean, obviously I was so pregnant by then. I was like 8 months. And so,
I'll take this first.
yeah.
Yeah.
You had
so
yours.
we closed. I had a couple friends. I already had this, you know, beforehand we scheduled everything. So we had the mover scheduled. We had U-Haul picked up and ready to go. We had everything set up so that we could close, get that in motion before our appointment, go to our appointment, come back, and actually start moving into our new house. So shout out to all my friends that helped out, because they ended up being a huge help. So we closed. That was easy breezy. Then we get to the house. I get in the U-Haul. We get everything over here that we need, and the movers start coming over and everything, right? So I tell some of my friends, I'm like, hey, we're about to go to the hospital. We're going to be right back.
Quick checkup.
We're going to be right back. So we go to the hospital. Now, at this time, because of the pandemic, I couldn't go in the back with her. I had to actually like wait outside, not even in the waiting room at that one, right? That last one, I had to wait outside of the waiting room.
Well, the first appointment, they let you come in.
Yeah,
remember the first part?
Even her first ultrasound, I couldn't go into the ultrasound. Like, and they were nice enough to let her like record it, but I couldn't even hear any of those things. I had to hear like the recording. But so that one, I'm outside. I'm not even in the waiting room. I'm outside. She's texting me. She's like, I don't know. There was
a part. Remember, they let you come in because when the doctor was saying he didn't know how to use the ultrasound, that part they let you come in.
See, I don't.
Okay, so like when we went,
like Sienna's literally almost 1, so now all this stuff seems like
it's a blur. It feels like it was yesterday to me. Like I can still smell the hospital room. I tell him that all the time, and he's like, it feels like forever ago. Yeah, but we got there, and when we got there, I asked him, I'm like, I need him, you know, I really want him to come in the room. And they're like, well, we'll allow one visitor as long as he passed like the little pre-COVID thing, which he did. So he comes back in the room. They're going to do like a quick little ultrasound and just make sure everything is okay. And then they were going to let us go on our way. Well, when he was doing it and he was looking, he was like, well, there's no fluid. And so I'm like, okay, well, I don't
think that's how the story. She was texting me. He's saying there's no.
That
fluid.
Was after when we went.
I got to come in after once you were like admitted, and they were like She said I couldn't come back there, and he was like, nah, I'm not doing nothing else until he comes.
That was when we went to the maternity ward, but my initial appointment was in the back. And remember, the guy didn't know how to work the machine.
That was
before we went.
I wasn't in there.
Yes, you were.
Wrong guy, it wasn't me.
You heard him say, he was like, Caitlin, he doesn't know what he's talking about. Relax. We were walking down the hallway. I was crying. You were like, Caitlin, you saw that guy. He doesn't even know what he's doing.
I might have been in there.
Yes.
It was so many appointments that I didn't get to go into that I got to go into. What I do remember is once we got to the maternity ward, I had to sit out in the waiting room. Small little waiting room.
Yes, he did. He could not go in.
And they were, I think they were about to start drawing blood and doing all this other stuff. And they was like, yo, she's not going to leave. I'm sitting there texting my friends like, yo, I think she's about to have the baby today. Like, literally, we closed, and then that same day, we're in the hospital, and we're not leaving.
So I didn't know that I had already been in labor. I'm not sure exactly how long I was in labor. I'm pretty sure Topgolf, I was definitely in labor at Topgolf with the way that I was feeling. But, so yeah, the guy was, like, trying to do something with the machine after he said I had no fluid. And then, Kadeem's like, I look at him and I get nervous and he's like, calm down, it's gonna be okay. And then they swap out the machines and he has another lady come in and he's like, how do you do this? And so he's like, look, this guy doesn't even know what he's doing. Just relax. We're gonna get this out of the way. Don't stress yourself. We're gonna go home and get settled and it'll all be okay. So I'm like, okay, I'm trying to relax. And then they actually do get another machine in and then they do another ultrasound. And he's like, no, you have fluid only in a very small amount of fluid in one pocket of like the lower left side of my placenta. Everywhere else, there was no fluid at all. So that's when he was like, I'm going to walk you down to the maternity ward. Maybe it's the machine again, but I'm going to take you down to the maternity ward and then they're going to evaluate you and let you know what needs to happen next. So we're walking down the hallway. I stop and start bawling, crying.
I'm not ready to do this today.
He was like, I thought you were ready to get her out. I was like, I was, but not today. Like, I wanted to get the house situated.
Bruh, straight fear.
Yes.
Nothing else.
I was terrified.
I'm cool as a cucumber. Now, granted, I don't actually have to physically give birth, right? My nerves come from more like, hey, I'm going to have a new responsibility, not really the actual act of giving birth. But she's like, oh no, I don't know what to do. She's really like super nervous.
Right.
So I'm trying to like calm her down, like, you know, no matter what it is, we're going to get through it. It's not going to be that bad. And at first I was real skeptical because the military, no shade to anybody that's a doctor at any military hospital, facility, whatever the case may be, they don't be knowing what the hell they talking about. Like, they've told us so many wrong things, and they're like, I don't know how to use this machine, this, that, and the third. So I'm like, man, they don't know what they talking about. You ain't having no baby today. But lo and behold, they're like, no, we got to get her checked in. We were not ready. We didn't have the baby. We didn't have the mommy bag. We didn't have my bag. We didn't have anything. We didn't have the car seat. We didn't have anything with us to like go in and come back with the baby, right?
Yeah. So like once we got down there to the maternity ward, I remember sitting with Kadeem in the waiting room, and the reason why I was so terrified is because they did give us a lot of wrong information throughout the pregnancy as far as different things, but when it came to like that's what made me nervous was like these are the people that are really about to deliver my baby. And then I was thinking about like, you know, the mortality rate and knowing that a woman is closest to death when she's giving birth. And so it was terrifying to me. And so that's really what I was worried about, was something happening to either me or Sienna. And because of where we were, I wasn't 100% like sure I'd be okay. And I know there's plenty of women that give birth and they're okay, but there's also times where that doesn't happen. So I was definitely really nervous about that. But I'm also one of those people that's like worst case scenario. And I'm definitely a worrier. And then when things come out okay, then I'm like, okay, I'm good. But I'm not like, I just prepare for the worst. So I was thinking like that. I go back, and that's when I was texting him like constantly. My service was horrible. And, you know, he's texting me back. He's like, you know, it's going to be okay. It's going to be fine. And they came back and then they did some stuff and, you know, checked her out and everything. And they're like, no, you really have no fluid. We should have taken her out about a week and a half ago. Yeah. And so you're not leaving. And I'm like, what do you mean I'm not leaving? We don't have baby bag. We don't have anything.
Showered, anything.
No, we didn't even sleep the night before because we were so excited, I think, about closing on the house and everything that we were just up. So neither one of us were rested. We were just excited. We were on go. And so that was really just, I felt super unprepared. So it made me like break down. So I got really freaked out. And then they were like, you know, your blood pressure's a little high. And then they were like, okay, well now it's fine. Because he was talking to me the whole time. And they were like, okay, well we're going to have to admit you, but we need you to sit here for a little bit longer. And so I was like, you know, I wasn't really ready for this today.
What are you doing?
I wasn't really ready for this today. I would not stop crying, and they were looking at me like I was crazy. So I was like, look, this is what needs to happen. I need her father. They were like, what's her name? And I'm like, well, her name's going to be Sienna. I need Sienna's dad back here like right now. And they're like, well, ma'am, unfortunately, we don't allow any guests or, you know, anyone additional in the triage area until you get admitted. And I was like, well, I'm pretty sure like me stressing out is not good right now. So if you guys need me to calm down, he needs to come here, and I will not do anything. I'm not moving. Nothing is happening until he's back here, because I'm not even going to do this part by myself. It's not happening. I was way too scared, way too freaked out, and I needed him next to me. So they finally let him come back and go back with me when they admitted me. And so we're in the room, and I'm laying in the bed. They hooked me up to this machine to like test like the contractions. And so they asked me like, you know, how do you feel? And I was like, I feel fine. And they were like, oh, well, you just had a contraction. I was like, oh, well, I've been having that for weeks.
Yeah, contractions. Look. To fast forward the story, right? So they let me go before they really take her back and really start anything, getting any checks or anything. We're going to talk about that. They let me go get us some food. They let me go get the mommy bag, go get us some clothes, because we had none of that with us, right? Go get the car seat. You can't even leave without a car seat, so we had to go get all those things, right? So I leave, I go get that. I don't remember what I even got us to eat. Some Panera?
He got us something from Panera, because the thing he got me from Panera I had never had before, and now it's the only thing I ordered. It was really good.
So I go get Panera bread, I get the clothes, I get the mommy bag. We come back. They're like, yo, your water been broke. Like, what? Your water been broke. You've been having contractions. And one of the things that they didn't tell Caitlin that she was not prepared for were the cervical checks.
That was
I'm gonna let you talk. I don't know anything about it. I saw the first one. I probably was asleep for a lot of them because we were so tired.
Yes.
That first one, I mean, I thought this lady was trying to touch her heart the way she was. Yeah.
He was all the way on the other side of the room, like getting stuff out of the bags to like make sure we would both be comfortable for the rest of the time that we were in there. But initially they told me that I couldn't eat because in case there was a complication, they would have needed to give me something. And if I ate or drank anything, it would have caused me to vomit, and then that could have interfered if they needed to put me under. So they didn't want me to eat. And I was like, look, we haven't slept, we haven't eaten, we haven't showered. We just closed on a house this morning.
Yep.
I need you to let us get situated. So once he came back with the bags, the food, everything, they were like, you know, you do understand the risks of you eating. Yes, I do. Let us both eat. They let us both actually shower.
Yep. He
brought us change of clothes, and I went and showered, and then he went and showered. And once we both showered, and I was like, okay, are you good? And he was like, are you good?
Yeah, it wasn't really about me.
Yeah, and then, but I wanted to make sure he was okay because I knew that I needed him. So I needed him to be okay too. So once we were both showered and we had both eaten and we were both like, okay, you good, you good? Okay, cool. I was like, okay, whatever y'all need to do, y'all can start now. So that's when they started the Pitocin. That's when they hooked me up to the machine to check my, to check for contractions. And that's when the midwife came in and did the first cervical check. So I thought it was just going to be something, you know, really simple. Like I didn't know what to really expect. And she stuck half her arm up my vagina and was moving.
It looked crazy.
All this way.
It looked so painful.
And I was like gripping the bed. The nurse came around. I was grabbing her arm. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to leave a bruise on this little girl's arm. Poor thing. Kadeem was all the way on the other side of the room getting the bag situated. And he looked at me and he was like, I didn't know that was going to be that bad. And I'm like, me either. So it was just really, really painful.
Go in and you come out with one of these.
One of those.
Hopefully yours is this cute.
But yeah, so the cervical check was really, really painful. And I know she said I had to get several of those. So I wasn't prepared. But that's definitely something I would say to brace yourself for as much as possible if you didn't know that they need to do that. So they had to, the purpose for that was to check and see how dilated I was. And at that time, I was only 3 centimeters dilated, but still I was on my way already, and they had just started the Pitocin. So
next, I would say, so for the guys that are going in, I didn't know what I wasn't gonna know, right? I didn't know. I just knew I was like, yo, make sure she's comfortable, be supportive, and it could be a long night, it could be short. You don't know. You have no clue. One thing I would say is, Sienna, baby, this is full production. Look, you don't care.
she's gonna spaz.
Maybe. One thing that okay. You wanna be okay?
Here, let's switch. There you go.
One thing that you're really gonna want to do if you're a guy in there is they ain't gonna have no channels.
Yeah.
They don't have nothing to make you feel comfortable. That chair they had me in was the worst sleep I ever got, but I was so tired because of the nights before that it's like eventually I did fall asleep. But that chair that they put you in, bro, bring a pillow, bring your own blanket from home. Like, be prepared to make yourself as comfortable as possible. Other than that, the only thing that I was like really shocked by, you know, we were in a military hospital, so and ironically, it's actually the hospital I was born in. So me and Sienna were born in yes, ma'am. We were born in the same hospital. I would say the only other thing is I wasn't ready for the placenta to come out.
We didn't get to that part yet.
Oh, okay.
Don't go that far. Oh my goodness.
I wasn't ready for that.
Yeah. So okay. So once they said that I was 3, it was just a waiting game from there. And so we just had to let the Pitocin kick in, which is a medicine that they give you to help speed up the process of the dilation. So they told me to like get as much rest as possible because giving birth was going to be extremely exhausting. And so they told me to get as much rest as possible. And of course, same thing for him. So it took him so long to get comfortable enough to fall asleep. And so once he did, like, I was okay for a while. And they had told me about the epidural already, but I hadn't had one at that point. Well, they came back.
She was trying so hard to not do the epidural.
I was.
every like couple minutes, I was like, "You're not gonna get it?" She was like, "No, I'm trying." I was like, "Man,"
I didn't want to be confined to the bed.
In my mind, I'm like, "Bro, if she don't get this epidural, like, why are you fighting with this? If you don't."
I didn't want to be confined to the bed.
It's easy for me to say as the man, and I don't have to feel that pain, but I was there to watch her go through it, so I'm like, we could have an hour ago did this.
Yeah, but there can also be long-term effects from getting one, which I do still actually have, and we are 10 months postpartum, so it's definitely something that was beneficial for me at the time, and I don't regret it at all. So like, I was trying to hold off as long as possible, only because I didn't want to be confined to the bed, and I didn't want to have issues in my lower back afterwards because of it. So I told them that I was in a little bit of pain, and they actually gave me some medicine through an IV, but they said it'd be the only time that I'd be able to get it because it would make the baby too drowsy. So that was the only medicine that would be available for the rest of the time until I chose to get the epidural. So they gave it to me, and then that's when I was able to actually get some sleep. And I think I slept for maybe about 2 hours, and the pain woke me up. Like, the contractions were so bad, I sat up, but I couldn't speak. I looked over, and he was sleeping. I didn't want to wake him up at all, so I sat there so quietly and in like excruciating pain. I just was quiet and still. So the nurse eventually came in, and she looks at my face, and she's like, "Are you ready for your epidural?" And I was like,
"Yeah," because she knew. She was like, "It's over. What are you doing?"
So she was like, "Okay, well, now we got to wake Dad up because we're going to need his help." So they woke him up, turned on the lights. He sat in front of me. I put my feet on top of his knees. Yeah. And then they exposed my back. And then sweetheart, let's not expose mommy. So, she just let me know that she was going to she let me know what she was doing, but she had to keep doing it until I said that I couldn't feel anything else. So she ended up, I think she stuck me around like 8 or 9 times to get it to the point where I really couldn't feel anything else. Yeah. And so it took a long time for the epidural for them to actually start it. And so once they did, I was good. I was completely numb from the waist down, couldn't feel anything. And they gave me a little button to press. They were like, "If you need extra, just put it." And at the time, I felt okay, but I pressed it anyway just to like give myself some extra because I didn't want to be in pain that bad anymore. So once they did that, I just kind of like chilled, and I think that was maybe like around like 10 or 11 o'clock. And I think we went to sleep. They did another cervical check like super early in the, well, no, it was like 5 or 6. And then everything else was just waiting from there, waiting and resting.
Waiting on Sienna.
And then it was around 10 in the morning. Yep. That's when she came. They came in. I was waking up, and they were like, "Hey, Mom, we're going to do another cervical check and see how far you are." And they checked, and they were like, "Oh, she's ready. Are you ready?"
We were not ready.
We were not.
We were not ready. I can honestly say once
I couldn't feel anything.
I can honestly say once they were like, "Oh no, she's coming," I was like, "Oh shit, right now?" My fault. I'm gonna bleep that out. I was like, "Oh snap, she's ready? Like, we're ready now?" So I was like, "Okay." And then one of the stirrups were broken, so I had to like hold Caitlin's leg up. So I'm like in the action, right? And she was pushing. I mean, she didn't push that long, but it looked like it was strenuous, right? It looked like it was strenuous. And from there, they were like, "Oh my God, she's crowning. Here's her head. Do you want to touch her head?" So Caitlin goes, like, I could see head full of hair. Like, I could see it. I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm right here." It was crazy. And Caitlin touches her head and instantly starts crying, like bawling tears.
I needed that.
She's like, "All right, next good, big push, big push, big push." Boom, blood everywhere. Almost hit me on my shirt. Almost got on me. I was like, "Oh no!" And then after that, I mean, Sienna slid right out with the funny shaped head at first, with this white stuff all over her. Then, like I alluded to a little early in the video, the placenta came out afterwards. So Sienna's out. They get her. They're trying to get her warmed up. So they give her to mom. Mom and her. They do chest to chest. which is like, it was super touching. You know, like I said, her head was like a cone at first. It was like really weird shaped. And I'm sitting there and I'm like looking at them, and then all I see is like a huge, like, I don't even know how to describe it, but a blood sac come out. And I'm like, whoa, what is that? It was like, that's a placenta. And all I could think in my head was like, people eat that?
Yes, they do.
What the?
They put it in capsules.
They eat that raw? That's like when you, like, it looked like a steak, like a porterhouse. Bone in. So I just was like perplexed by that. And then, I mean, Sienna.
And because of the blood that popped out, you didn't get to cry.
Oh yeah,
I was kind of mad he didn't cry.
No, man.
I just wanted him to. I wanted us to all be. You know.
It takes a lot to make me cry nowadays. I was like, when Caitlin started crying and Sienna was coming, I almost teared up. But then it looked. I mean, guys, y'all didn't see the blood that came out. It gushed out everywhere, like literally splattered everywhere. And I was just like, oh snap! And that just no tears from me. But we had to put Sienna in the warmer and stuff. But after that, like, I would say, guys, be ready. If you're gonna sit there, if you're gonna be in the action, the placenta, you do not want to that look crazy coming out.
Yeah. So when we did skin to skin, that was really like so amazing. Like, I was just staring at her. I was in awe. Like, I didn't know what was happening down there. I didn't care. And actually, what the doctor was telling me was that I tore, but I didn't tear to the back. I tore to the front, which is another thing that I haven't really heard a lot of women talk about. I always hear them talking about a tear to the back. And so because I tore the front, they were doing stitches. I think Kadeem heard them talking. I didn't. So I knew I would feel whatever they were talking about later. But at the time, I wasn't really affected because I was just staring at her, just amazed at what had just happened. So yeah, when we were doing the skin to skin, she was only 5 pounds and 10 ounces when she came out. She was very tiny. And so because of that, her body was not able to regulate the temperature on her own, and even putting her on my chest, it was not enough. So I'm not gonna lie, that made me extremely emotional, and I was like, oh my God, I just gave birth. I'm already like not able to do what I'm supposed to do for my baby.
Like,
a lot of women feel this way, and they can relate.
The entire
I wanted to
time
be honest
all this
about
was
it.
happening, I was not worried at all. I was like, I tell her this all the time. I'm like, bro, they were giving babies before all this technology.
They were.
Before any of these beds with the thermal stuff. Like,
I was just worried about connecting with her. I was worried about both of us being healthy after. I was worried about, just her size. I was really worried about it. But once they put her under the warmer, Kadeem had to step away, and they were able to let him like go to the warmer and be with her. So he was holding her finger, and they were touching each other, and they did everything they needed to do. They brought her back, and eventually it was okay. But it was still very, very emotional for me. She's having a blast.
She never uses that one. Out of all those rings, that's the least. Now it's like, oh, y'all recording? No.
I'm about to shake it.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't. She had 10 fingers and 10 toes. She reacted to stuff when her eyes like were open. She could hear. That's all I cared about. Like, I just wanted a healthy baby at the time. Yeah, she was really small. She's adorable. Like, bro, I was best day of my life, bar none. It wasn't even close. And it was just like, damn, we just bought a house, and I love our house. And then we had a baby the next day. It was incredible.
Yeah. She did not want us to spend our first night.
Shout out to my little brother. He snuck us in some food.
Yes, he did.
My brother's ex-military, so he could get on the facility. And at the time, they weren't really letting people in. Like, you couldn't have visitors. You couldn't have your family outside waiting for you. Right? We had our baby during the pandemic. You couldn't have all that you normally see, like a whole room full of people when you bring the baby into the world. So we were by ourselves, and then he snuck in. And at first I thought, he was like, so he kind of.
He had on, I think, a hat too.
During the pandemic, I think a lot of people started door dashing as like extra income. So he was door dashing. I wasn't, I said, hey, can you go pick this up for me? He went and picked me up some food. He had the DoorDash face mask on. He kind of just snuck in. I told him where the room was. Next thing I know, he's at the door. And I was like, oh, you want to see your niece? Like, she's the first girl. So so he comes in, he brings us some wings and stuff. And I was like, bro, welcome Sienna to the world. It was dope. It was super dope.
It was. I do wish that we were able to have, I didn't want like too many people in the room, like maybe I'm kind of torn because I did want like one or two people there that were, you know, important to me at the time that I felt like I would have wanted there in the room. But once she came and everything was so overwhelming, more in a happy way, but just overwhelming also with it being the first baby for the both of us. Yeah. And then not knowing what to do and having to learn. You know, sometimes people are like, no, do it like this, do it like that, especially if they already had kids. So it was really, I'm trying to find like the positive in all the isolation that came with having a baby in the pandemic. And the pro for me was like, we really had to like, this was like the biggest time in our relationship where we bonded. Was when we had her, because we had to figure it out together. Like there was no, I mean, yeah, there was opinions from other people, but we just had to do it. And so we bonded probably the best we ever have when we had her. Like when we brought her home, everything was amazing between us. We were on the same page.
I got one more. Hold on. I didn't even have a list of things I didn't know. So we bought the car seat.
Oh yes.
We were using the car seat, right? Well, we didn't use the car.
We pulled it out for the class.
We pulled it out. We did an online class. Normally, you would be able to go to a class, and they would show you how to kind of use your car seat, whatever. Yeah. So we have the Brick Tax
all in one,
right? Mm-hmm. So when we're leaving the hospital, a nurse leaves with you to go outside and make sure you can put the car seat in the car. I'm like, oh, bet she's gonna help me set this up. No,
she watched there and watched me struggle with it.
So I'm sitting there. She's in a wheelchair. She's got Sienna with her, looking like the worst dad ever. Like, oh, you don't even know how to strap the car seat in. And look at the car they're in on top of that, right?
She was like, oh, the baby's leaving in a Porsche.
Yeah, like, I'm like, bro.
She was like, oh, you're leaving the hospital in style.
And she didn't even know, like, anything about our car seat. So we knew it was kind of simple, but it took a while for me to understand, like, what I needed to do to latch it in and get it correct. So make sure you're familiar, fellas, guys. Make sure you're familiar with your car seat before you go home.
Yeah, I would also say, like, I was 37 weeks when I gave birth, and we were actually planning to do all of that stuff like at week 38, because we were like, okay, we have 2 weeks left. We need to like keep the bags in the car, put the car seat in the car to make sure we're prepared, because it could happen at any time. Well, I would say whatever week you're planning on doing that, do it maybe a week or two earlier to prepare yourself even more, because like I said, we had nothing when we went there. And I mean, I'm pretty sure they would let you leave. I'm glad he was able to leave and go and get the car seat, go and get the bags. But I felt bad, even though I was in the hospital bed, like, you know, in pain, I still felt bad for him, because that was a lot for him to have to leave me there, you know, while that was going on, and have to go and rush to go and get those things and come back. So I really wish that didn't have to happen, but I'm glad he was able to do it. And so I didn't really want any extra stress or pressure on either one of us at that time. So I would just say plan, however early you're planning, plan a little bit earlier.
The only thing I was worried about, honestly, because we were moving, was like, I wanted my home to be ready for my daughter to come into that, right? And like I said, I have to be really thankful that, and it's probably some of my own equity for the things I've done for my friends in the future, in the past, but they really held me down. I mean, we have a headboard for our master bedroom that you have to like install. Like it's mounted to the wall. My friends did that for me. My friends sat in here and took delivery of some of our furniture. My friends put together some of our furniture. You know, the only time I really left the hospital was to come here to like put her crib together, to help people move. Like, oh no, I need this here, I need that there. And there were people here and there to help me do those things. So
cleaning our apartment.
Yeah, people clean up. We were moving, right? So people clean, you know, I had family clean out our apartment. All those things happened, and it was like, it made it a little bit easier for me, because that was really my biggest concern. Like, oh snap, we get closed. And I'm thinking we have at least 2 weeks to get the home ready for her to be here. And we didn't have that. We didn't have that 2 week cushion. It was the next day. So we were in the hospital for what, 2 days? 3 days?
Yes, 2 days.
So we were in the hospital for 2 days, and then we came home, and it wasn't like, we had stuff set up. It wasn't that bad. So
he kept telling me, he was like, I don't want you guys to come in, and I don't want you to be overwhelmed, because the house does look a mess.
It would have been boxes everywhere. I mean, it was.
When we came in the house.
It could have been way worse. You know, they hung up some of our clothes. They did all. We had a lot going on, so I'm super thankful for that. It meant a lot to me, and it made it a lot easier on us to come in with a baby and set everything up.
And I was definitely, the first time he left, when we were in the recovery room, and the first time that he left, he was like debating, like, should I go back and, you know, do this because I don't want this done this way. Like, I need this to be right. I need us all to go home to some type of, you know, order. Something that's, some type of order. And so he was like, you know, I'm debating on whether or not I should go. And I'm like, Kadeem, just go, because it's probably best if you just go. So he left, I think, maybe twice to come back and help out with the house and make sure that everything was good and bring us back food and stuff like that. And so I was just glad that, you know, I was in a hospital at the time, and so nurses were coming and helping. Mm-hmm. I felt like I was being annoying, pushing the button, but I'm like, I don't know what to do with a new baby. Like, what do I, like, when she's, and then I couldn't actually stand up and walk. That's another thing that I didn't know, is like with the epidural, because I pressed the button so many, it could have been because of that, or it could have just been the epidural in general, but mine took so long to wear off. So like usually like in the first 24 hours or so, they say, like after you give birth, like it'll start to wear off, and then they try to get you up and get walking. Well, I was able to walk like a decent amount of time after, but I was unable to go to the bathroom. So they actually had to put a catheter in for 24 hours until it wore off enough. So walking after an epidural was very, very difficult, and then holding her. So I wasn't able to stand up with her and hold her. They were encouraging me to go for walks around the hallway, which we did once.
Yeah, we got to that.
But it was very, very difficult getting up and walking and moving around after, which is expected. But my epidural did take forever to wear off. So that was something that was very, something I wasn't really prepared for. But I mean, it all worked out. I'm glad he was able, we had the support that we did at that time to help us with everything, because when we came back, I saw that there were boxes and there was things kind of everywhere, but I didn't see that. I saw like, this is like a fresh start. Like, it's me, it's you, we're bonding, and we have like a whole new person to take care of. So it was really a very emotional and very like important and special time for the both of us. But it's something that's very, very sentimental to me. It was like walking into the house for the next time after we had keys, and it was all three of us, and we were holding, you know, Sienna. So it was amazing, and I don't want to get emotional on camera because that is so lame, but I want to cry right now.
Is there anything else you want to give the people that, like I said, a lot of you guys, I know a lot of people personally that are pregnant right now, like they're about to go through what we just went through. Not as bad, even though there's a second wave, it seems like, of COVID going out with this new variant. Is there anything that you want to let them know, like, hey, be prepared for this? Like, for me, for the men, just be as supportive as you can. Y'all aren't on lockdown. Like I said, we're going to talk about that one day. Y'all aren't on lockdown like I was. Like she said, we bonded a lot during the pregnancy pandemic. That's what I'm going to call it.
Yeah.
What would you say for women that are like preparing to have their first child, second child? I mean, obviously we're on one, so first child, it's a lot different.
Yeah, I would definitely say the first is I mean, obviously it's your first time going through it. So I would just say, if there's anyone in your life that you have, I don't want to just say the dad and like make it seem like weird, but if you do have someone in your life that's extremely supportive, that's going to be there and that's going to help you through everything, definitely make sure that you have that. Like, definitely, because I could not imagine going through all of that by myself. Like, I couldn't imagine it. I mean, people do it all the time and they survive, but I could just imagine how hard it is, and I'm really, really thankful that I didn't have to go through that alone. So I would say the number one thing that you need during that time, because you don't know what to expect, and no matter what people tell you or how many YouTube videos you watch, all these women's stories are completely different. Yeah. And so I would just say, you can prepare yourself by watching videos and doing research and listening to the doctors, listening to your friends, your mom, listening to different people talk about their experiences, just so you know, okay, this can happen, that can happen. But you don't really know how it's going to be for you. So the one thing I would say is to make sure you have at least one person in your corner that's super supportive, that's going to be there with you. And that's really the biggest piece of advice I can give, because everything else is kind of just, you got to see how it goes.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's it. That was our
birthing
story. I hope you guys enjoyed.
Yes.
If you haven't already, make sure you hit that like button.
Subscribe. And hit the notification bell. We will be posting, a little bit more now.
We bike.
Yeah. But we're definitely going to do one on the pregnancy itself. And then definitely like having a newborn at home. So we didn't want to put it all in one video and make it too long and too much information in one.
Yeah.
So the pregnancy,
we're going to talk about
that was a different story.
Child-proofing. As you see,
yes.
The house is not child-proof, right?
Nope.
It's like, and it's not easy to do. And then once they start, like, she's mobile now. Like, she can get around. She's touching everything. Like, now it's like, oh, snap. You have to, like,
watch everything
she does. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all that stuff. So make sure you leave a comment, like, subscribe, hit the bell. We appreciate every review. Thank you.